see what happens.
Okay. So, почему confident speaking language is English? Okay, safe. Good. So, I have one question. So I would like to ask, uh, on the practices I'm having with my players, there are two extremes that is happening a lot. On one side, when the player is so stressed and so focus on the result and trying too much, and on the other side is there are players that are maybe just too loose or not trying that hard, maybe not caring that much. And I was trying to explain to my players that for those they are trying too much and they are too tense, it's not the solution to suddenly to be tanking, but to to realize the importance, like the difference between best of 5 hours match to win that match and to win it on the Grand Slams. Then there is a match best of 3, and then there is one set, then there is one practice set, and then there is one practice tiebreak, and then there is let's play up to 5 points. And somehow the importance of the point, or the pressure which comes from the trying to win. For example, one girl is playing against another girl much younger, and she wants to win even if they play up to 5 points. And I'm trying to explain them that it's not important to win the exercise we are doing. Much more important is to be improving in that exercise, or maybe that the importance that that you beat the girl best of 3 sets, and where there is more time, and there is more time to that it will show that you're better, but it will not show in every exercise, or maybe it will not show when they play just the rallies up to 11 or something like that. So it's not like the question is how to explain them that it's not that important to win on the practice court, just maybe more to be improving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a few thoughts, many thoughts actually, but I would start by saying you started saying the example that on one extreme you have the players who are too tight and trying too hard, and then on the other you have the ones who are tanking or they're too loose, right?
Exactly.
And I would start by saying that they have the same problem actually, right? That exactly how you said, they're too focused on the result. So on the side that they're too tight, they're the ones who focus so much on the result that they want to win so much, or they really don't want to lose so much, so they're trying so hard to avoid losing, or to more likely it's possible it's avoiding losing more so than trying to win. And then the ones who are tanking, I would say those are the ones who are more like not trying to avoid losing, but they're the ones who want to win. So I would say that's the first distinction I would make, is that the ones who are too tight are the ones who are avoiding losing, more avoiding losing oriented, and the ones who are too loose, I would say, are more the ones who need to win, who are trying to win.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the first distinction like we need to make, because then we can approach the players in a more kind of, and of course that's it's not 100%. What I just said doesn't apply maybe to everyone, but it's potentially that's the idea, and we can always test. So we can come to the talk with the player and ask the player, are you more afraid of losing, or are you more wanting to win? You know, we can test these hypotheses. You can also test this with players by setting up exercises or in a way that, you know, punishes losing or gives rewards for winning, and see how players react. So you can determine if the specific player is more oriented towards I really want to win or I don't want to lose. And you can see, you can separate the players into these categories based on this, right? And then you can approach them in a different way. So so that's the two categories, but the overarching problem is, as you said, it's the result-oriented mindset, not the process-oriented.
Exactly.
So that the first big two is like process, where it can be process-oriented or it can be result-oriented, right? And then the result-oriented then separates into not wanting to lose or wanting to win, you know.
Okay.
So the overarching thing is how do you get them to be more process oriented was your question, to understand that in the exercise is about the process, about learning, about improving. So for the ones who are too tight, meaning that they potentially, most likely, they're ones who are afraid of losing. For those, you have to approach in a sense to explaining to them and looking at, like, from a mental point of view of why is it okay to lose, and approach it in that way. So what you can show them, for example, is how much they lost in the past and how much they will still lose in the future.
Mm.
So they realize, for example, whatever ranking they are, you know, whatever success they achieved, they still lost a lot in the past on the way. So they need to be more learning about the fact that losing is part of life and it's going to happen, and which they know rationally, but it needs to really sink in through having a conversation about this, that yes, you are going to lose thousands of matches in the future. And losing is part of it. So the whole practice there is for those players is to learn to accept losing, that losing is part of the career.
Mm.
And the moment I step on the court, I accept that I can lose or I can win, because the reality is those are the possibilities, those are the options, and they can practice that every time they step on the court. This can be actual practice they can maybe implement, is that every time I step on the court, I consciously remind myself that every time I'm stepping on the court, both of these options are possible, and I accept them by stepping on the court. By starting a game, I'm consciously accepting these outcomes, and it's
Mm.
okay. So I would say that for the ones who are too tight, for the ones who are too loose, the ones who really want to win, and they what might happen is when they perceive that I'm not going to win, they might tank. So they get, is that your experience? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
with these players that they're trying up to the point where they see that maybe I'm not gonna win, or the exercise or whatever is not designed for them to actually win. There's no
Yeah.
something to win in the exercise, so it's like not interesting for them, because
Mm.
I need to win, and if I can't win, then I'm like, fuck it.
Mm.
I'm not interested. Um, so for those, it's more important, I think, to approach it from a viewpoint of like exploring um, this kind of self-worth and kind of relaxation, in a sense of like, um, because why they really want to win is because they need to fulfill something, some self-worth or some value based, right? Um, so those are more the players who need to learn how to um, relax and go more into the the process. And I'm thinking with those, I would go more into the process oriented mindset, showing them that, look, for you to win, you have to learn, and for you to learn, you have to be in the process. Like they need to associate that the learning goes towards the winning. I need to make that connection. Again, and it's just like with the other ones, it's not just consciously like rational, because like it's like we say this and we say, okay, yeah, but duh, like makes sense. But to do it presently in the practice, in the moment, like when they make the connection and then it becomes better and then they're winning, and also look back in the history and look at like look, you started winning when we made this realization, or where you made that improvement. How did you make this improvement? Because you were in the process, you were training. So their desire to win, you need to connect with the work. And those you need to praise more for the work, for the effort. So that's, I would say, the main key here is those players who are tanking, who are all about like, I just want to win. They need to be more praised for the effort. And the other ones, actually both of them, because when we want to implement that they're more process oriented, we need to praise effort, praise process. So I actually, I'm just realizing, yeah, both of them, it is what you praise, what you support, you get more of, right? What you focus on. And I think a lot of the coaches, what we see is like because we're so focused on results in our society, we're not focused enough on the fact that like, okay, we're in the process, and just letting them be in the process and not focusing too much on what needs to get better or what's bad, or I remember you were telling me the other day that you do this, right, with one of the girls, this exercise that you play like points and then you play like five more like without scoring, that you like
Yeah.
play up to something, and then
Yeah.
you do like you just continue, but you stop counting or something like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, it's exactly. And what oftentimes happens that as you say, on the one side, or the players that are tanking, you praise the effort, and the problem in these other players, they are too stressed, and they're having too much effort, even. So when they play and we are not counting, uh they still like trying to cheat it, like, okay, now I'm not putting that much effort, so maybe I can win. So it's not like still the focus on the process is not that big. They because they think that, okay, now I'm not trying, and maybe that brings me the win, and it's still the win is there.
So I fall back into the trap of like, yeah,
Exactly,
because the
exactly.
way to win is to relax, and so I relax just to win. Yeah. So
Exactly.
yeah, this is I mean, look, we can't like lie to ourselves. I think like we're in the sport, and at the end of the day, like there's like it is about winning.
Mm.
But at the same time, the way I thought about this the other day, that there's two personalities you need as a tennis player or as any athlete. You need like you need to develop a training personality and a competition personality. And
Mm.
they're actually completely different, right? They're completely opposite, because the training personality is the personality of someone who knows that they don't know, who's aware, who's humble in the fact that like, okay, I'm not good enough yet. There's plenty to improve, and I'm curious to see what more I can find out, what's still not working, and let's explore. It's an exploration into the unknown. That's the training personality, because there's always something that you can find in the unknown, something to improve, something to get better at. So it's like it's the underdog personality, right?
Mm.
But then you go into competition and suddenly you have to switch that and be like, I know what I know. Because you need confidence and you need to be relaxed and you need to trust in your skills. So you can't focus on what's not good enough when you go into competition. Because,
Mm.
as we know, it's as Tony Robbins says, like you what you focus on, you feel. So when you focus on the fact that something's not there, you're not so certain, right? Which is fine in practice, because practice is like therapy, like in psychotherapy, like it's a safe environment. Like practice should be, and of course, when we say practice, there's different levels of practice. Now we're talking about more like individual practice with a coach is like therapy. Then when you have practice, when there's like with other players, that's already practice competition. So that's different. But the individual practice is like therapy. What it means is there's safe environment. There should be safe environment. And it's very important for the coach, for any coach out there, to realize that just like a therapist or a parent or a teacher, whoever it is, I need to create a safe space of non-judgment, because it is a space for exploration. And the only way we explore and go into the unknown is, it's already scary enough to go in the unknown. So we need to feel safe. We need to feel like, okay, we're together exploring, and there's no right or wrong. We need to suspend morality, and we need to suspend this judgment of like, this is wrong, this is right, or something. No, we're together exploring what is the best thing for you in this forehand or in this backhand or whatever it is. And it's a process we're doing together as a team, so that's the safe environment of a individual session. And then when it goes into practice mode, like competition, like playing with other players and playing exercises or sets or whatever, and then into actual competition, that's the personality of, I know what I know. Because why? Because I tried it, it's proven, it's tested, it worked, and I focus on what I know, and I go into the competition revising like, okay, I know this, this is my strength, this I can do, this I'm good at, this player I beat, and all that stuff. So you go into this like more the knowing personality. And what you're saying, and what you can see, is that each player has a tendency to be one or the other. So you have players who have a tendency to be like, okay, I don't know, I need to get better all the time. And they're like the hard workers, and who are going to be, like the ones that coaches love, but might not be so good in competition. And then you have the players who are like, okay, I know what I know, I'm good, so I don't need to practice because I'm already great.
Mm.
So whichever personality is missing needs to be worked at, needs to be practiced. So either you're missing the humility or the understanding that there's so much you don't know, and it's okay to not know. So those are going back to your example, that the ones who are tanking, who are too loose, they're the ones who need to appear like they know everything. So with those, you need to do the conversation. It's okay to not know.
Right.
The ones that are too tight, they think they don't know anything.
Mm.
And they need to learn that there's things they already know. So with those, you talk about the things that they're good at, and you focus on more the things that they know how to do. So they realize they know how to do, which makes them relax more and try a little bit less.
Mm. It's interesting how naturally these like differences between the competition self and the practice self happens after a lot of tournaments. Like if you play a lot of tournaments and there is a lot at stake, let's say, then you comes to the practice court, even the players they used to be too tight on the practice court or too stressed, they're like relaxed because they know that, okay, now we're playing for no points, no money, whatever. So they can like, okay, now I can relax, now I can improve what I want to improve, and it's fine. And but in the, let's say, more practice time of the year, when everything somehow counts, and also in the I found that in the age between 10 to 14, when it's very like important for them to be better than the friend or whatever, then it becomes too stressful somehow.
Yeah, so I think you said a very important thing there about the age, because I think it changes so much. Because
Right.
like from just like we know from psychology, like you have these developmental stages in life. And the one thing I always think about when I look at a player, like we have to realize that first, like there's these categories, and the first category is we're human, right? So first you have to look at the person as a human. Then after that is like, okay, is it a boy or a girl, or a man or a woman? And so first we're human, then we are man or woman, and then we are an athlete, a sports person, and then we are a tennis player.
Mm.
So a lot of times we're trying to fix problems as tennis coaches, which is normal because that's the lens you look through at the level of tennis player, but it might be a problem at level of human or boy or girl
Right.
or just like an athlete or a child,
Right.
So like you said, like different ages, different developmental, like from 10 to 14, it's not even about tennis. It's about the fact that as in adolescence and puberty, it's normal that there's insecurity. That's just normal. That's normal part of every teenager has some insecurity because they're in the stage of life where they're, trying to discover who they are. They don't know who they are, and nobody knows, and everybody appears like they know who they are. So it propagates more and more insecurity because all the teenagers act like they have it all figured out, but none of them have it figured out. So they're trying different stuff, and it's normal part of life to feel insecure, and it's for good reason because they still haven't really achieved much in life. So on some level, it's okay to feel like I haven't
Mm.
achieved anything because they haven't, but that's a good thing because that's what gives them the drive to work, to try new stuff, to put the energy and the effort in because they want to achieve something. It's a natural progression. So there, I think it goes back to as a coach, we're working with like teenagers. It's so important to understand that that's just normal, and not put too much pressure on the fact that like now you have to really be like secure and confident or whatever. Just to give them time and understand the insecurity and provide the safe space, as I said before, that as a almost therapeutic safe space of an adult who trusts in them and show them that okay, it's I trust in you and I trust in the longer term process, and it's not that we have to in each training and each week we have to be like in each tournament we have to like make it happen now, because at the end of the day you don't, right? Like because if they're 12, 13, 14, it doesn't matter if they win a tournament or lose first round at that age, you know so I think because the teenagers are so like present, like I have to be better than others today in this tournament, in this exercise, and in this because they live so much in the moment because they're still kids or in that age. It is up to the coach to be the adult to not get caught up in the teenage mindset and be like, yes, like this exercise, this tournament, this something, but to see the bigger picture and to provide
Mm.
that energy of like, look, there's a you have so many years to play. There's a bigger picture here. And approach the practices also in this way. For example, like, okay, if an exercise is not working, we move on to a different exercise and we try it again tomorrow or next week.
Right.
If you're whatever you're losing matches, going too hard tournaments, we go to easier tournaments, or you have some practice matches. It's okay. So at the end of the day, it always starts with us, as coaches, as mentors, as teachers, as therapists, as whatever it is. It's like you work on yourself to not get caught in this result-oriented mode.
Right.
And then you can provide that space for the player, that safe space that we're exploring here. We're learning here. It's a space of learning, not a space of achieving. And that's what I would say.
Right. I mean, I always admired when I look at the pro players or the very successful one, like how they could, and probably it comes also from the understanding of the game, how they could approach the practice that, okay, now I couldn't return the Sampress's serve or some so they are really trying to improve the return and they are playing games, but the main focus is on the return. Or I need to go more often to the net, and I don't really care that I don't know, 30 in the world, and I'm gonna lose to 300 player in the world, but I'm gonna play serve and volley, and it could be 2-6. Okay, next day I'm gonna play serve and volley, and it's gonna be 4-6, and it's, I mean, I'm improving. So I mean, it's there is what I want to achieve. So there is a success from the practice, and to be somehow on the level where you are somehow disassociated from the result, and to really approach the practice that on the first place improving and the result is not that important, and then to switch it for the match when the result is important and I'm also improving in the match. Like you have to have the, I don't know, to the understanding probably of the game, or like you see the bigger picture, or the somehow to somehow to have the, I don't know, the perspective.
Yeah, I think what you said there is the understanding of the game. It comes back to what we talked many times before about this because if you don't have the understanding of the game, meaning that you can't deconstruct winning and
Exactly.
what are different small steps that lead to winning, then you're only left with winning or losing.
Exactly.
And then that creates that mentality of like, okay, I'm either winning or losing. And that creates a stress because you're going on the court and you don't even know why you're winning or losing because you don't know how to deconstruct
Mm.
the tactical aspect, the strategy, there's so many different factors. So I think going back to the teaching, like we talked about the other day, that we are, as coaches, we're teachers in the sense that we need to teach the players about the game and what are the rules of the game, what are the different strategies or tactics. And yes, it is about winning, but looking at deconstructing winning, what does it mean to win? What are for example, like those basic things, like, like what are the different ways a point can end, right? Like the winner on first error or a forced error, like and looking at like, okay, so if these are that's all of tennis. It's either winner on first error or forced error. It's like only three domains, right? And then go from there. For example, just this understanding. Um, so I think, and that's why also with age, the more the understanding of the game comes for the ones who actually think about it and who are lucky enough to have the coaches or the mentors who they can talk to on this level and who they can ask good questions and get answers, and there's open communication. Then the winning or losing becomes less important because it becomes more about those small things and those small checkpoints, whether I'm doing or not, and then you are in the process, like what you're asking at the beginning. So
Mm.
I think, yeah, I think to kind of sum that up, I would say the less focus on winning or losing and more focus on understanding the game.
Mm. Mm. And also, if you can say something about the somehow importance of the moment when there is uh, like I was saying in the beginning, if you play against anybody up to 3 points, that you have to understand that you can lose to anybody, even the when the level it's very like different, but there could be one lucky shot, one mistake, and whatever, and you can lose almost to anybody. If we play up to 10 points, normally the better player wins, but still if they are very similar, like 55-45, you can still lose. And then if we play up to 20 or 30 points, there is much more it's much more difficult for the weaker player to win. And just to understand this, the like simple example is, okay, the players, because of for the lack of time, they play just tie breaks, let's say, on the practice court, and mostly the players, they are so stressed about the results, they can be so angry that they lost the tie break. And I'm trying to understand them. Okay, it's not best of 3 sets. If you play best of 3 sets, it will show that you are better, or it will show that okay, you have the upper hand or whatever. But it cannot show, I mean, up to 7 points, so you know what I mean.
Yeah, so we're going back to the what you said about the understanding of the game and like having a bigger perspective is what you're saying, basically, like
Yeah,
having the to see the bigger picture.
right.
Uh, but going back, I think again we need to be compassionate, show compassion to the age, the developmental age, and to understand that like a 13, 14, 15-year-old, whatever, there's hormonal changes, there's stuff happening, especially guys, there's a lot of testosterone coming in, which is like, the hormones of aggression. There's all this, and it's totally normal that there's this like
Mm,
competition and they want to fight with each other and all that. So I think, like I said before, um, it's actually beneficial for the fact that there's this drive to compete
right.
and they throw themselves into the process and go full out because they want to win, right? And because they go full out, they're actually improving because they're pushing that edge of their skills. It's not good. It's maladaptive. It's not good when it becomes detrimental to the game itself, right? If it becomes detrimental to the process, so like it's so much that they're actually not improving, or they're not playing the best that they could be, or pushing those limits of their ability. Because we both know this, like, right? Like you can have this like healthy competition where you're just like, oh, I'm gonna beat you, and I'm enjoying the game so much because I'm so in it, and I'm sweating, I'm running, and I'm like hitting full, and like I'm going for it, and like, and that's where I'm actually improving. Or you can have the one where, like what you said, like either I need to win so much, I'm trying so hard, and I'm actually not playing my tennis, or I can have the opposite, like, oh, like I'm already gonna lose, so fuck it, like I'm not even playing, and I'm not improving,
Mm, mm,
right? So I wouldn't. It's a different question, I think. So I wouldn't put down the fact that it's so competitive, because the the
mhm.
the competitiveness is good if it can remain what you're saying, in the fact that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like we are we're enjoying the fight without actually caring about the result, which is an interesting kind of paradox, right? But just, I'm sure you kind of experienced this when you were younger and when you were training, and I know this, like those are the most where you discover the most, when you're in like a full battle, but you're just having fun. It's and part of that is playing a lot, like what you said, like when we play up to 10, okay, I might get angry at the first one or the second one, but by the seventh one or eighth one, I don't care anymore.
Exactly.
So because by then I also see the bigger picture of, okay, I lost some, I won some, so it's more, I think it's just keep going. It's the answer, because the nervous system will go up and down, especially with teenagers, it will go up and down like radically. But if you keep going, if you make that longer, just go, just keep going. Just don't let them like go get out of there. Just get them like, okay, next one, next one, next one. Okay, one more up to 10 again. One more up to 10. And not let them escape. Then this will become
Exactly.
right. But now the question comes how to do that as a coach, or what prevents you as a coach from doing. I mean, one thing is the time, as you said. So that's one thing that maybe to think about, that like with, especially with players who are this way, maybe it's better than for them to have like either or. So like there's sessions where there's only points the whole time. So if you have hour and a half or 2 hours, whatever. So you say like, okay, the whole time we play only points. So there's
Mm,
that time to be able to spread out the waves. Um, so you want to maybe design the practice in this way. Or you have other practices where you play no points, when you just work on something and you design that safe space, like I talked about before, for the exploration, etc. Right? So that's would be like logistical approach. The other way I would say as a coach, you can do it is the most important always is like we work on ourselves. So what I mean by that is that just like understanding of the game for the player makes them more relaxed. For you, understanding of the game as a coach, what I talked about, that they're human first and they're teenagers, and having that understanding, you let them compete and compare themselves. And so you don't jump in and try to like solve the problem of competition. That's why I before said that actually competition is not a problem. So we don't, and that fighting and that comparing and that like, that it's natural. And if you as a coach approach it with that energy, that it's like, yes, it's like, like in the ancient times in Sparta or something, they had kids wrestle and fight and just like, rolling on the ground in the dust, and like it's a normal evolution. Um, so realizing that it's a normal, and if you as a coach approach it with that energy, they will also feel that it's okay.
Mhm.
Because again, you as a coach are setting the culture for the practice. You are the one that they're consciously but more unconsciously they're feeling. You're setting the mood, the atmosphere for the mood of the what are the values, what is important, what is not important, what is praised and what is punished.
Mm.
You are setting the environment. So when you change yourself, when you shift that in yourself, you'll see the whole environment change,
Mm.
even without saying a word, just because you'll be even unconsciously showing different signs. So when you approach it like, yeah, now they're fighting, now they're competing, now they come, it's okay. They're kids and teenagers. It's fine. They will suddenly go from that, like, I have to win, lose, into like that healthy fight, the
Mm. Mm. Mm.
healthy competition.
Yeah, I would sum it up, as you said perfectly, that okay, on the one side, the players, they don't want to lose, very stressed. On the other side, players, they are tanking. And I would say the to transcend somehow the both states is like the enjoyment of
Mm.
maybe even of the fight. And even then, maybe it with the time comes also more focus on the process. But the to enjoy the fun, the fight, it's like the things that you can never go wrong with. It was like today I was watching Fonseca beating Rublev, and they asked him, how could you, like, you are qualifier, you just turned 18, and you beat number 9 player in the world on the biggest stage, and first time on the center court and first time main draw. And he just said, I enjoyed every moment, and I enjoyed the stadium, and I enjoyed the fight. And that was the answer.
No, it's beautiful what you said. And I think to connect it what we said, like to enjoy something, you need to understand it. We all know this, that the more you understand something, the more it's enjoyable. Like it's like I
Exactly.
remember I remember watching once like on TV on Eurosport, there was like this commercial, and they were like explaining, they were showing Tour de France, and they were like they're like had like a short bit of explaining some strategy that this team was doing at the moment, and showing it with arrows and stuff on what they were doing. And I remember thinking like, wow, this is so cool. To where before every time I saw cycling on TV, I was like, "This is so boring. Like it's just like it's the same thing. You're just looking at a guy on a bike with a different background. It's just the scenery is changing, but it's like the same thing's happening." But the moment I saw that, I got the understanding of the game.
Mm,
It immediately became more enjoyable,
mm,
even as a viewer, right? So I think you're right, the transcendence of the two states is to be in the moment, is to enjoy, because you can only enjoy in the moment. But to be able to enjoy comes from the understanding of the game, because the more you understand it, the more you're enjoying the process, because you understand the process. So you see what's happening and what the feedback is, and you try this and it doesn't work, so you try something else and something else works. And so yeah, I would conclude maybe with this, that to transcend too much trying to win, or too much not wanting to lose, being too tight or too loose in the practice because of the result-oriented mindset. We have to go back to the enjoyment, and to go back to the enjoyment, we need to understand the game better.
Yeah, perfectly. Perfect.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.